Wait, we are all of a sudden we are international. Let's bring us all the way from the UK.
I was like, what happened?
I'm like, what? Not now. Don't do this now.
You know, his facial expression like, okay, it worked a moment ago. What's wrong?
Good intro. Good intro. Wow.
Oh, man. Hey, guys, how you doing tonight?
Actually, I'm super tired tonight. I'm super tired. Rough day. Yesterday, long day. Service was great. Whoever spoke the message was awesome on Sunday. And then I had my daughter's soccer game. They won, and I mowed the lawn, and I had 10 bags of grass. It was way too much. I waited too long. I waited 2 weeks to mow the lawn. That was bad. So yeah, super tired. But what about you guys? What's going on?
I had a great weekend. This weekend, our church had their youth weekend. So Friday night, they had a lock-in from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m.
Woo!
Yeah. So Friday night, they had a laser tag. Man, that laser tag was off the chain. They converted the whole multi-purpose room into this huge laser tag arena. It was nice. It was, of course, I stayed till about a little bit after 2, got home, had to get some rest because I too had to preach Sunday, which was a dynamic service. Anything, but anyway. So it was really good. But the weekend was good, but it was lonely because certain people weren't here.
And look, I keep looking to my right, thinking I'm looking at Mark. Not here. No, I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, your turn.
No, look, I've been here since Thursday. As people may not know, or people may know, I'm here in England because my mom got sick. And if I really did give an update, would be that they found a small pocket of cancer in her right lung, lower right lung. So she's in high spirits, and I guess for the last 3 days, I surprised her. I surprised her by going in and not letting her know that I was coming in, and she was in deep. But it was nice. She's doing well, getting one by one to meet the family here in England. But I got to give a shout out also to Bishop Saunders Jr. for the weekend that he had. They honored the fathers, and yes, I did watch it, Bishop. Yes, I saw you. I saw the members also walking around the offering time. but yeah, it's great over. Well, it's what time now? It's 12:30 here.
12:35 your time. 7:35 ours.
How was my morning? How was my morning? I'm good. I'm hype.
Yeah. Morning is good.
I'm all good.
You're right. Like,
hey, well, at least we can say that our team won their last official game. But now the big game is this weekend coming up. I'm going to have a box of tissues ready because I know what's going to happen. I don't know if I want to watch it or not, but we'll see what happens.
We lost last year. We're going to win this year.
Well, you know, with Simon being in England, we
2
might.
hours away.
See?
Yeah, I got my hands out the window. I got my hands out the window praying that the Reds win this game. Since Man City won the Premiership, they don't have to be greedy. Just give it up.
And do something with it. But, you know, I'm excited about tonight's show. We're going to be talking about something that's going to be... Oh, but before we get into that, Simon, even though you're all the way in the UK, you got to say what you normally say.
Young people, old people, medium people, all kinds of people from England to America, please push the button. Push it, please. Like it. Subscribe it, please. And press the like button as many times as you can. Please. Love y'all. Love y'all.
You were in England. You should have said it with your English accent.
I would like everybody to please and please subscribe to Warriors United FC, and please do it and share with everybody because that's what we do in all countries. Okay, was that good enough?
You know, when he comes back home, he's gonna be talking like that for real.
Yes.
When he comes back.
For at least 2 weeks. For at least 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
At least 2 weeks, so we just talk like that.
But tonight we're gonna be talking about the pros and cons of cryptocurrency. And Ruben, I'm gonna get you to introduce this young man who's gonna come on and try to educate us in this interesting financial world.
Yeah, so I have known this young man for quite some time. He is actually my nephew by marriage. I'm very proud of the young man. He's also, I'll let him introduce himself a little bit more, but he's also a captain with the local fire station here in Hamilton and in the Mercer County area. So he's pretty much a big deal. So we're happy to have this big deal on today, but it's my nephew. Another person, Dwight Deacon. We're going to bring him on. He's going to talk about cryptocurrency, the pros and cons.
Look, I didn't know he was a captain. I got
I'm going to salute you right back.
Well, Dwight, before you talk about anything, I got a question for you real quick. It's nothing to do with finances. I'm an avid fan of Chicago Fire.
Okay.
So the stuff that they do in Chicago Fire, does that really relate to what you do in your actual field?
I mean, you're not the first person to ask me that, but I'll definitely say, I mean, yes, but definitely not within a 30-minute time frame.
Okay.
So I think they really wrap up about a month or at least 2 weeks worth of what we do into 30 minutes and make it seem as though our life is truly that exciting. Even though we have exciting moments, that's not a typical adventurous outlook, in addition to maybe just too much on the whole relationship concept.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
you all don't sing to each other? You all don't sing to each other? And
I'm not going to say we don't, but if it's displayed on Chicago Fire, we probably have only done it once.
Okay. All right.
But it was done.
Exactly. There's a lot of camaraderie towards the fire department. I mean, I'm very happy to be a part of the career. As Pastor said, aka my uncle as well. My name is Joseph Deacon. My nickname is Dwight. I am a captain with the Trenton Fire Department for the last 3, almost 4 years. I've been with that department for 12 years overall, so definitely quite some time. I've got my tenure, and it's a very exciting career. I also dabble into a few other things more on the investment side, more so within real estate. So today, I believe we're going to discuss a few things about, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, things of that nature. I've dabbled in that for quite some time, and I have a keen understanding of it. So I would like to lend my opinion or share whatever information that I can. Clearly, I'm not a financial advisor. Let's put that disclaimer out there. However, I definitely do have a keen sense of crypto and currency overall, and I'd love to share it with our audience.
So help us out. What exactly is cryptocurrency and how does it work?
Just jumping right in. In order to understand crypto, I think it's very good to understand currency in general. And whenever I'm asked the question, I try my best to use the most known physical form of currency, and that would be gold. For quite some time, we were on the gold standard before we became a fiat currency. So I'm going to ask Pastor if for a moment he could bring up the gold chart to give us an understanding of where gold has been coming from, so that we can compare that to crypto and then show why crypto has these incredible spikes over time when they move specifically into, I would say, disturbing economical times, right? So if we take a look here at the overall chart, we're taking a look at 1933. And Pastor, if you could just sort of move into 1932, which would just be slightly over, that'll give us a much better understanding. And then let's get over to 1931 or 30. Okay, perfect. So we just take a look at an average or general outlook on gold. At that particular time, it was 390. So 390 was the price point on gold in 1930, 1931. If we moved into 1933, we'll see a really strong spike in the price of gold. And you would say, why did it go up that much? The reason that happened is because we had the Great Depression and we had a lot of instability within the US dollar. Gold was able to level out because we actually entered into a war and carried that over into from about 39 into 48. The reason I'm pointing this out is I'm going to just make a drastic jump. And if we can take a look at that really large spike to your right, Pastor, we'll find the exact date on that. Okay. And that puts us right at about 79, I believe.
Yes.
So, two things happened in the 70s. Coming out of the civil rights movement of 1968 with the assassination of Martin Luther King. And not to become a very political person, I just want to kind of tie two things in together. There's a lot of conspiracy theory regarding the passing of Dr. King, which was really based around his last speech asking for economical equality. And what we know is that many times when you ask for economical equality, it might not be the outlook that you're looking for. Just being realistic and being honest here. Gold shows us exactly what was taking place. 1971, we then moved away from gold completely. So 1933, we asked all American citizens to turn in their gold, and it basically became illegal to harvest large amounts because that was step one into the US government deciding to get away from gold as a standard. And just to make that clear, it's not really like a right or wrong. The reason that was a decision was gold has a limitation. Fiat currency does not have a limitation. So with the fiat currency that we have now with a central bank like the Federal Reserve, they can print as much money as they would like as long as they can justify that the debt would be repaid. When you're using a standard currency like gold, you don't have the ability to print as much money as you like because there's a fixed amount of gold, and the only way you can actually print more money is if you first mine more gold. And that ties into Bitcoin and just gaining an understanding. Before I jump right into Bitcoin, I'll just point out those two spikes. Gold doesn't go up or down. Whenever you see a spike in gold, it truly just represents that the US dollar has gone down. It doesn't show that gold went up. So if gold is at $500 and then 6 months later it's at $1,000, it doesn't mean that gold went up $500. What it means is the US dollar, what you could purchase for $1 6 months ago, you can only purchase 50 cents in that amount of goods. That's basically what it's explaining. If gold doubles, your dollar in your pocket has been reduced by 50%. So when you see housing prices double, it's not that your house was worth 200,000 and then within 3 years it's worth 400,000. It's the US dollar has depreciated by 50%. So that's the reason your house is worth double, because the money that's in the bank has depreciated that much. So you have to understand that in order to understand Bitcoin. You have to understand that gold used to be Bitcoin at some point. There was a time in which gold was the actual standard currency. And every time you see a spike in gold, it's a representation of the US dollar losing its value. So you'll see very large spikes from, let's say, 2015 till now. But during COVID, we printed 25% of all money ever circulated within the last 4 years. So let me just take that back. Within the last 4 years, we were able to enhance our debt and print a third of all money ever printed in all time ever. Okay. So when you see housing prices doubling, when you see Bitcoin doubling, and when you see all assets doubling, it's not because you're a great investor. It's because the US dollar has depreciated by 50%. So in your account, you see double the amount of money, but it can only buy the same things it could have bought a few years ago. So that's an understanding that we must understand when we speak about Bitcoin. So once again, when Bitcoin spikes, it's not so much that the coin itself is spiking, it's a true representation of the US dollar depreciating at a rapid pace.
So before you go on, so just so everybody's get an understanding, we're really getting in a little bit technical. I think maybe for some folks, because you use the words like fiat, you use the words, you're talking about the fluctuation of the dollar, things like that. So pretty much, I think what you're saying though is that as the dollar goes down, right, gold goes up. That's pretty much, and as the dollar goes up, gold goes down. So if you think the dollar is strong, you don't buy gold. If you think the dollar is weak, you go buy gold, right? That's what you're pretty much saying.
Absolutely. And that's going to be the same rhetoric for Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin is a true representation of currency. So Bitcoin could easily double within the next 3 years. However, the same amount of money that you put into Bitcoin will almost equal the same amount of money as it is at that same time, because it will still have the same purchasing power, even though it doubled.
So
my question, I have a question. So how do people buy and sell cryptocurrency?
You can use your standard trading accounts. A lot of most people, I think Robinhood is very familiar. So you can actually use Robinhood. You would tie it to your bank account, or you would do a transfer from your standard bank account into your Robinhood trade and money market account. That money will then be able to buy stocks, ETFs, which are just index funds, like a fund that consists of many different stocks. And then it can also purchase crypto. Obviously, when you purchase crypto onto a Robinhood or something along that nature, it's still somewhat vulnerable to hackers, because it's not a cold storage, it's a hot storage. And because a hot storage, the same way it's a digital currency, it can be digitally hacked. So you would then get a USB or an actual storage drive specifically made for cold storage. You'd plug that into your computer. You can actually extract that actual crypto encrypted code and place that onto a physical device. And if you do so, it's stored physically. Those are the steps. So you could literally just buy it on Robinhood with the assumption that no one will ever hack it. But I just want to be mindful. There's many things because it's a digital currency and this is a very new system, fairly new still. Yes, you run the risk of possibly being hacked, which is not a popular thing. You also run the risk of making a transfer to the wrong person. And if you do so, there's no way to extract your money back. This is not a central government regulated system, which means if you make a mistake, it's on you.
Right. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I think people don't understand the difference between the bank, which has a central bank to it, and then it has to actually have a world bank to it, versus the cryptocurrency world, which doesn't have a central bank supposedly. And can you kind of explain the differences and why one's important, why one's not, and why crypto does what it does?
Absolutely.
Before Josie says that, please, audience, people watching, send them questions in. Type them in, send them in. Let's go. He's ready. I can see he's ready for you. So
absolutely.
Let's go. Okay, Josie. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, Pastor. You wanted me to tie in the difference between
Yeah, so people understand that when they're getting crypto, right, there's no central, like you were saying, there's no central bank. So there's an importance to a central bank, but there's also an importance to why crypto doesn't have a central bank. And if you can kind of talk to why crypto doesn't have a central bank, why do they do it that way?
Absolutely. So the central bank didn't always exist. This was also something that was created back in 1919, which was roughly just a decade prior to the 1933 depression. So there was a pre-game for the Central Reserve. It's always been in the elite, or 1% or 5%, whatever you want to classify that percentage to be, to control your banking. Banking is a route in which you commend resources, and it's a way in which you can govern outside of the government. So there's always been an interest in having a central bank. And the reason of that is you would be able to lend money to the government at an interest rate which taxpayers will pay back. Just want to get that out the way. That's why central banks exist. It's basically a group of very rich families who have created a fund, and that fund lends money to the United States when they need it at a particular interest rate. And because they're able to lend money to the US at an interest rate, that interest rate goes to the banking system like TD or American, any of your local bank, JP Morgan Chase, and then they tack on another interest onto that when they're loaning you money to buy a house or buy a car. So the central bank is a group of rich families placed together that have a governing board, which is a group of governors voted through your general election system, and they make decisions about where we are with our fiscal policies and where we need to stand with inflation, and they try their best to keep inflation low. That way we can have a thriving economy. So there's a lot of good that come from central bank, and that's why they exist, but they also exist to make money. Bitcoin was the people standing up and saying, we no longer want a central bank to tell us what our interest rate is, tell us how we can transfer money, tell us who we can transfer money to, or tell us as citizens or anyone of any nation when and where and how much money can be moved to whomever, and why does it have to be documented. That's the reason Bitcoin exists. It's the people's way of standing up against central bank. And central bank asks you to give up a lot of your rights when you bank with them, because they control your money. They dictate, they take a very close look at your transactions over $10,000. They determine how much money you can carry with you when you go from country to country. They determine how long an amount of money needs to be settled into one account to the next, sometimes 2 days, 3 days. Bitcoin is instant. There's a lot of things that we don't pay attention to because we were sort of born into the environment of central bank. But central bank sets a lot of perimeters that we don't need. And because of that, Bitcoin has emerged as the people's money, a way in which we can control our own money, and a way in which we actually benefit from inflation as opposed to our money depreciating by sitting in the bank.
So,
That's
question
what.
for you. So can cryptocurrency be used for illegal activities?
Yes, but so can cash. It absolutely can, but almost all forms of money could be used for something illegal. The only difference is if it's being transferred from one bank to the next, there's a documentation of time in which you sent the money and from who to the next. But same as cash, you can use it for illegal things either way. It's not really the reason there's a stigma around Bitcoin being utilized is because you're unable to trace what the money was for. But I do want to point out, for 95 to 99% of human history, you weren't able to track what their money was used for. This is still very recent that you're able to track what people do when they spend. So that's why it's sort of like a rebellious currency. It's the people asking for a way in which we want, if we place our money into something and for some reason there's a drastic inflation of 30%, you if you place $1,000 into the bank and there was an inflation of 30%, that $1,000 is only worth $700 of purchasing power. If you place $1,000 into Bitcoin and there's a 30% inflation, your $1,000 become $1,300.
Mhm.
You understand? So it moves with inflation.
Right.
It doesn't sit in one place and depreciate because of inflation. So that's why it's spiked so much within the last 4 years or so, is because it truly represents inflation. The reason the average American citizen is unable to notice that is because we live in the United States. So we compare ourselves to another state. We live in New Jersey, we might compare ourselves to Pennsylvania. So you might not notice the price difference. But if you were to leave New Jersey and let's say go to Colombia, or you were able to go to a foreign country with a very depreciated, like Venezuela, with a very depreciated currency, you would be able to see how strong or how weak your actual dollar is. But because you're spending it in the United States where it's governed and regulated, you're unable to notice the true value from a day-to-day standpoint. The only thing you notice is you'll go to the grocery store and now you'll spend $100, but you only get $70 worth of goods.
Huh?
You'll notice that.
Well, you notice inflation, right? So you'll notice
You'll notice the inflation in the price of goods. For example, if eggs were $2 and now it's $2.60, you're only able to purchase $70 worth of goods for your $100 because each item has enhanced in price. So you'll notice it. You'll notice inflation when you're spending, but you don't notice it on a day-to-day basis of your overall lifestyle because your mortgage did not go up 30%. So you wouldn't notice the 30% inflation in your mortgage. You'll only notice it in goods and things you must consume on a daily and weekly basis.
Right. And that's like net present value, future present value. That's when it comes to the dollar, like, and we'll have a show on this, everybody, about money one day and about finances, because it's important to know. One of the things that I was wondering is, though, because of cryptocurrency, what's the even cash, right? We're worried about people calling us saying, hey, it's the IRS, you got to do this. Is there also worry about cryptocurrency and scammers for cryptocurrency? Is there an issue with that? Is that something that we have to worry about?
I mean, yes, but it's a new currency. So there's going to be scammers with any form of new currency. What you must understand with crypto falls under the same regulations as anything else that the government regulates. So if you have capital gains, you still have to pay 19% if you cash out your Bitcoin. It's not as if it's somehow completely removed from the overall process, right? I would say because it's decentralized, it could be mistaken as something that doesn't need to follow tax laws because it's decentralized. However, when you're in the jurisdiction of the United States, you still have to follow their laws. So if you invest money and you use that to actually make more money, you do have to pay capital gains tax. So you still fall into the same tax structures when you sell these coins. So I'm not sure if that answered the question. I think you were asking about possibly being called in sort of like a scam.
Yeah, just scammers, but don't worry about it. We have somebody said something, we want to get to that too.
Okay.
It's evident that Joseph is very knowledgeable about finance and cryptocurrency, which only makes me realize that I don't know nothing about this. Good to be learning a little. Amen. Esther is a great watcher of ours. Yes, ma'am. That's why we have him here today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Esther, you're not alone. You are not alone.
I mean, I'm glad I can help.
You said something earlier, and I want to go back to that. So, along to what Rupert was just asking, so how is cryptocurrency regulated around the world? Is it like a standard with it? I mean, is it regulated here one way and then regulated here, like over in the UK, or is it a standard across the board?
Well, that's a good question. And yes, I mean, the US has tried its best to fight off cryptocurrency initially because it looked like competition to central bank. So because of that, there wasn't really true standards. They've adopted it now to the point that they're moving forward with their own versions of cryptocurrency. So because of that, it's regulated the same way any other trade in your stock portfolio would be regulated. I can't speak for all other foreign countries, but I know there are a lot less regulated, and that's why it comes with a lot of negative stigma around transferring funds and for somewhat illegal reasons at different times. So because of that, but I can only speak on the US behalf. As far as the US regulation, is treated just like any other stock commodity that you would actually move forward with on the S&P 500. It follows the same exact tax laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's our producer, Ken Walsh, asking a question. Even though he's not producing today, we don't know where he is. He's missing. Maybe he's, somewhere in England like Simon. I don't know.
No. He wouldn't even be able to to get through. No, they wouldn't even let him through. No.
He'd be stopped at Heathrow. He'd be stopped at Heathrow. You got to
Hey.
get
He's still there. He's still there.
Hey, so why did BTZ, I guess it's Bitcoin.
BTC. Yeah. So why did Bitcoin jump 3,000 today? Great question. Instability. So the market moves once again, the market moves according to the value of the US dollar. There's a strong sentiment that the US dollar is going to depreciate a lot within the next 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe even shorter than that. Today, the president of Iran he passed away in a helicopter incident. So,
yeah,
little quick recap on what's going on in the world. We have three like major wars taking place. We have Russia and Ukraine. We've got Rwanda and the Republic of Congo, and we also have Israel trying its best to some form of genocide on Palestine. So Iran is part of the allies to Israel, or at least they have some agreement in which they support Israel. And however you want to word that, don't want to get too political, but they support Hamas or whomever is fighting against Israel for their own personal rights. Iran did a drone attack a few weeks ago because one of their major politicians were assassinated during one of those attacks from Israel. And the president of Iran, their power structure is very much like the US, but they're a lot more honest about it. So they have a ruling class which is above the president, who dictates and choose who they want to rule. The United States have the same thing. We just call it the Federal Reserve. We don't actually talk about the exact people who are picking the president. It's just a completely different structure, but it's the same thing. So the fact that he died, even though it may have been accidental, it doesn't look good with the war taking place in Israel. It looks as if whether he was traveling for something with the war, or it just looks like, hey, we're not friends, and for some reason I died. Okay, that's what it looks like.
Wow.
And because of that, there's a lot of instability, which means it's going to affect oil. Iran export a lot of oil. That's why they're so powerful. And they have allies with Russia and China. Putin and also the prime minister of in China also, gave their condolences, which shows strength. And it's sort of one of those things where enemies become allies when they find a common enemy. And because of that, it's creating a lot of instability within the Middle East. And whenever you have instability, you have inflation, because more money needs to be printed to go and solve the problem. And the more money you have to print, the higher Bitcoin goes. Once again, it's a direct connection to inflation. That's why Bitcoin went up 3,000, because we're predicting that we're going to have a major inflation, because we just kind of stepped into a war that we didn't want to step into, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do it. So the American citizens' dollar in their pocket is going to be reduced, but Bitcoin will at least reflect the true amount of where it should be.
Or so we believe. So
to some degree.
Cryptocurrency people like no.
Well, that's what it does. It's really, it has to be connected to something in order to own its value. So it's tied into the US dollar. We don't promote how fast the US dollar depreciate. Bitcoin is a true representation of how fast it depreciates.
So here's the caveat, right? So you're saying, and I don't 100% believe this. The Fed controls the government. Well, the Fed can easily then control Bitcoin, because if the Fed controls the dollar and the dollar controls Bitcoin, well, the Fed has something to say then, right? Because that would be the ups and downs of it, right? If that was the case. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm just saying that's part of that would be part of the issue. But we're not here to talk about that stuff. We're here to talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because people may want to trade in it because, like you said, it is a tradable substance, right? So then the question is, how do we trade it? Because the question, right, when it comes to any stocks or bonds or ETF or closed-end funds or mutual funds is it tradable, right? Is it tradable? So here's the question: is it tradable, and how tradable is it?
I got you. I mean, one is very tradable. To take a page out of Warren Buffett book, I don't trade to make money. I trade to not lose money. So with Bitcoin, you just have to at least make sure your protection perimeters are set up so you don't lose money. And that's why I went back to the cold storage, which is very important about how you store it once you purchase it, because you can purchase it from any account the same way you go into Robinhood, your TD Ameritrade, which I think is now another brand. No, it is Ameritrade. However, almost all banks have a trade-in platform, and you can actually just simply start by signing up with a username and password and actually tie in your routing number and your bank account number. It'll give you a seamless process in which you're able to select the funds, and then you can transfer, let's say, for example, $1,000 from that account into your trading account. And from that trading account, you have the opportunity to select crypto, to select stocks, to select ETFs. And in that process, you can simply acquire a Bitcoin. So for $1,000, you can own, I think, 13%, 14% of a Bitcoin. And you are now profiting the same percentage wise when that Bitcoin goes up. You don't need $70,000 to buy a Bitcoin. You're buying a percentage of the Bitcoin.
So the same thing's like a stock.
Same thing like a stock.
Right.
Yep.
So now I bought the Bitcoin, right? I bought the Bitcoin. It's in my account.
Yes.
Now it's gone to a place where I said, you know what? I want to trade some of this. How do we trade the same way as a stock? Because with the stock,
same exact way, it has what's called a gas tax. So you are paying a percentage fee associated as you're doing the trade. Could be as much as 4%, could be possibly 3%, depending on the platform that you use. But there is an actual gas tax. That's the reason why you might not want to sell it as soon as you make 3%, because the price that it costs to sell will be eating up a large amount of your profits. You want to wait until you're somewhat in double digits of profits each time before you actually double digit percentage of profit before you actually sell. In a lot of stock accounts, you could buy and sell for free. And in the past, they used to have, set rates at like $5.90, like at $5.99. With Bitcoin is different. You're paying an actual percentage of the coin when you trade. So it'll be a larger fee each time you buy and sell.
So before we go, because I have a question, because Rupert says he has Bitcoin. So I have Bitcoin on my phone. I'm a novice, like in kindergarten. So I don't know, Jack, but what's going on here? So right now, it says on my phone, it's $52.41. It says I'm at 7.62% today. That's what it says today, but it's at 71,249.
So the overall 70,000 plus number is the actual price of a Bitcoin.
Got that.
And you own a small percentage of a Bitcoin. So you were able to profit the same amount, which I think today went up 6%, maybe 7%. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Bitcoin doesn't stop throughout the regulated market. It trades throughout the night. So as we're speaking, the price is changing.
Well, before we came on, it was at $49. Now it's at $52. And underneath it says buy, sell, or whatever.
Yeah, so you did make that 6%. So you made $3, which was 6% roughly of the number you mentioned. And if you had $100,000 in there, you would have made $6,000. You made the right percentage just from a smaller investment.
So go ahead, Rupert, because I was going to be stupid for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. There's no stupid questions, right? So
no, stupid me. No,
it's all good.
So the other thing you have to think about, because people some people may not know this either, right? Most stocks you don't see them at 70,000 because what? Because they split, because things happen. They don't stay that high. Only stock that does that really is Berkshire Hathaway. Is one of those stocks that never split, never did anything. What they did is they created other shares. Different story. But Bitcoin, I heard that people ought to start thinking about getting into Bitcoin because they're splitting. They're thinking of splitting, even three-way split, to bring that price down so more people can actually think. Because when you hear 70,000, they don't know you can buy a portion. So they want people to be able to buy it again. Is that correct? Is that something that you've been hearing? Or
yeah, so Bitcoin has a limited amount in which it can produce, and that's the reason why it keeps its true value. Should they split, they would have to do a split in which it would be the coin, the amount of coins offered would also have to split in that equal amount in order for the number to split. So the shares would have, it's very similar to stocks, very similar when stocks split, they split the amount of shares as well. So the reason why Bitcoin continues to grow is because there's a finite amount of it. So as long as there always be a demand, and as long as the American dollar is depreciating, Bitcoin will always go up. Like the only way Bitcoin could go down is if the US dollar strengthens. Right?
Yeah, so it says here, on my phone, it says it was designed so that only 21 million Bitcoins will ever be created.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
However, they have the ability to still do a split down the road. It's the beauty of it is they can't introduce new common shares or anything like that. It's a set finite amount. So because of that, the value of it simply would be just like gold. Gold is only improving simply because there's a finite amount. That's the only reason it can even be used as a currency. If for some reason we were to discover tons and tons and tons of gold, the price of gold would immediately drop drastically because we would have doubled our supply in no time.
So then what is the overall benefit of having the cryptocurrency?
To offset inflation. That would be the primary reason to keep Bitcoin in your portfolio. Like most investors say, if you're going to invest, try your best to still keep that less than 10% of your portfolio. You want to make sure you still maximize your blue chip stocks and some of your high risk tech stocks, things like that. Bitcoin should not, or crypto shouldn't be your sole view on investments. It's a very volatile investment. Something to always remember as well. No matter how high a stock go or how low it goes, you don't make or lose money until you actually sell. So you're just staring at it goes up, but you really don't make any money until you sell it. Because if you don't sell it, you can't take advantage of buying it at a lower price when it reduces. Right. So you're really just watching it in that case. So those are things to take a look at, but it's a volatile currency. It's it has a lot of room to run, but you should definitely keep it less than 10% in your portfolio of other things, just so you can actually have more stable or maybe high dividend stocks that would be able to, buffer you throughout the process.
Yes, I was just looking at Yahoo real quick and it said Bitcoin climbs 10%. And to my wife, I am paying attention. She's texting me, pay attention. I am paying attention. I'm looking at my phone, trying to do some fact checking on some stuff. So I am paying attention, Anita Broders.
I'll take a look at the price.
No question was asked this time. Just say pay attention. Hey, but so wait, is Bitcoin a precious metal?
I'm sorry?
Is Bitcoin considered a precious metal?
No, not at all, because it doesn't actually physically exist. So it cannot be a precious metal. Precious metals actually have to do something.
Right. So why do they say they mine Bitcoin then? When they
Because in order for something to be valuable, it has to take work to get it. And the way in which they create value for Bitcoin is the amount of work and the amount of energy. It takes a lot of energy, by the way, like a lot of electricity in order to create it. But it requires a lot of supercomputers or tons of regular computers put together to use enough processing power. It takes a lot of processing power to mine a coin. And really what it is just a deep version of encryption on the blockchain. If you could picture computers having horsepower, it just takes a lot of horsepower in order to build a Bitcoin and place it on the blockchain. So you need tons of processors. It's not as if you can open one laptop and mine a Bitcoin. It would take thousands of computers on the same exact, not the same exact network, but on the web network system, because it has to be verified over a variety of computers in order for it to have that stamp of approval to say, yes, it has been mined. And that's why it can actually hold its value, because there's so many points of references. Even if 5,000 computers went down, you would still be able to prove that that's your Bitcoin.
But to back off what Rupert is asking about the mining, what type of environmental impact does it have?
Well, it uses tons of energy, so clearly it can't be good as far as you speaking from a green initiative standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely it takes a toll. I can't give you like the exact amount of consumption per Bitcoin. What I can say is originally it used to take a lot less power, but as you get closer to the bottleneck of mining all Bitcoins, it becomes harder and harder to extract the last few percentages of Bitcoin. I'm not like a computer engineer or anything, but what I could say is I do know that it takes a lot of processing power and the use of quite a bit of energy in order to keep up this process.
So do all cryptos have that issue or only Bitcoin?
All cryptos.
Oh.
All cryptos. They try to use coins that would be a little bit lighter on the environmental impacts, things like Litecoin, but they don't have the same value when it comes to the blockchain system, which is why Bitcoin has been superior. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the two coins that have a really great blockchain system. Compare a good comparison of Bitcoin and Ethereum would be the Amtrak train system. Amtrak makes they do very well financially because they lease a lot of land. There's skyscrapers in New York that pay lease payments to Amtrak because Amtrak used to own the land long before they built the skyscrapers, and those trains still run underneath. Verizon, Comcast pays a very high leasing price for Amtrak to run the cable on the same railway so that they're able to hit major markets. Amtrak does tons of revenue just based on leasing land because their biggest thing is the fact that they own so much land because they have a rail system. That's something you don't think about, but just consider that to be an intrinsic value when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's so many cryptocurrencies that need to build on their real estate. That's what makes them so valuable as well. Like other companies, other coin need to use their transaction system and build from their infrastructure in order to even exist. So they are the platform in which are hosting most of the other cryptocurrencies.
So we have 10 minutes to go. I'm telling you, the time flies.
Okay.
We're listening. No, we're listening, and you've just brought up a whole lot of knowledge, what a whole lot of people didn't know. And we have some more studio on, so press the like button, please, and the share. And please subscribe to us, because this is a very good, wonderful topic that even I didn't know nothing about it at all. But anyway, let's get 10 more minutes. Let's go.
Hip hip cheerio. Is it the bonnet, huh?
Look at this.
Sure, yeah.
We learning different languages now, man.
And I am Jamaican. I was raised under the British English.
Hey, look, keep close to Jamaican too, because that can come out too.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I might have to unleash a little patois in the process. But I do want to kind of just hone in that process of Bitcoin and Ethereum. The reason why they lead the way is because they have blockchain, and blockchain is basically real estate. And
that was my next question: the blockchain technology, and how does that relate to cryptocurrency?
I have a Tesla. It was like the dream car of mine. I don't even believe in buying new cars. I don't like payments, but it's a nice car. And because it's one of the first truly, autonomous vehicles, it documents everything. So if I have a flat tire and I didn't fill the air for 3 days, it documents it. So if I leave it, if I don't hit park and I open the door, it'll go into emergency park and it documents it. In the past, the only way to document issues with your vehicle was getting a Carfax, and you'll know that it was in an accident. That's the only thing you could depend on, because you don't know if the dealer's lying to you or the person selling it to you is lying to you. With newer cars, they document every single thing you do. A Tesla battery shouldn't stay under 20% for too long. Same thing with your phone or other devices, because it wears on the lithium. If I go to sell that car 5 years from now and someone wants to know all of my mistakes, they can actually get that info from the car. That's what blockchain is. Blockchain is a ledger that keeps a history of all things happened. And you can see how a car company, like say a Honda, might want to use blockchain in the future to prove to the third owner of all the maintenance that took place on this vehicle over the lifetime of it. That's what blockchain does. Blockchain is a documentation system. It's a ledger. So that's because that is going to be very important in the future of technology, is being able to see the history of anything that you're purchasing or utilizing.
Yeah, so we have someone said that they knew you as a Jamaican. So, and
it could be the gap. It could be the gap, though.
That's my son-in-law from my family, and he got Jamaican heritage too. So he said, "Wham, wham."
All right, wagwan, badman.
Yeah, wagwan.
Okay. No, but yeah. That's the best. That's one of the true outlooks of understanding the Bitcoin, is knowing that it's a new infrastructure, and these two particular coins, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, are the ones building the whole infrastructure for the country of cryptocurrency. Wow. Okay, so they make all the roads.
So,
that's the rude boy.
He wants me to ask you about XRP, but I don't want you to get into that, because you would be giving your opinion. You're not an expert. You're not saying you're an advisor on this stuff.
Yeah,
and I'd rather you not get in that kind of trouble. If you like to give your opinion on XRP, go ahead. But
my quick opinion on XRP is they're mainly ran by Microsoft, so they will become valuable at some point. I can't give you an estimation of when it'll become an actual truly, like, it actually spike, but because it's ran by Microsoft, it was one of the first ones that was going to actually become. I don't want to say it's going to be centralized, but it was one of the first coins to be adopted that met all the regulations that would have been utilized as an actual central currency.
Yeah,
I
heard the same. I heard that when the United States was going to regulate or go to regulation, Microsoft did something, and then another company, Novio or something.
Sounds familiar, but I was a big fan of Ripple 3-4 years ago, because I thought that was going to be the takeoff as well. What I'll say is it's good to keep it as a nest egg in your portfolio, but there's no timing on when that's going to actually click.
Ripple is Charles Schwab.
Yes. They've partnered with many regulated fields, and because of that, if for any reason the government was going to adapt something, that would be the most convenient one that they would be able to have control over.
Yeah, so
That's the best I have on Ripple. That's that when it comes to content around Ripple, I have no idea. Like, for example, I know Bitcoin is gonna go up again. I mean, of course, it's gonna draw back at some point, but it's gonna go up again. But it's only I don't want to say I can guarantee because I'm not a financial advisor, and nor should they ever guarantee anything. But what I can say is I can at least tell you why Bitcoin goes up. Like, I know for a fact that the president of Iran dying today, the ICC came out and issued a warrant for Netanyahu, which is the president of Israel, and they also issued a warrant for the top 3 leaders of Hamas, and that just leads to a lot of instability. And we just have to know where our oil come from. And because Iran is such a big player in oil, that let you know immediately oil prices are going to skyrocket. This is the time anyway. The government like to raise it on you right before the summer driving. And so you have to know that as soon as price of oil goes up, Bitcoin has to go up, because when oil goes up, inflation goes up, because the average consumer spends so much on day-to-day travel. You're eating about $10 out of their pocket, $20 maybe per week. So the fact that inflation is directly noticeable, Bitcoin has to go up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Dwight, man, we are out of time. Man, this has been a great wealth of knowledge.
Are you sure? It must be faster in America than England. You sure?
We're winding it down,
You're having fun, right?
So, but stay tuned next week, because next week we're talking about modern day security in the church. We've seen a lot of incidents that have been happening nowadays. So next week we're going to come back, and hopefully our good friend will be back from the UK in time to help us with this. If not, he'll just be about sleep right about now. But stay tuned next week, and you just might hear us say,
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. I'm in on it too.
UK messed up this time.
Who messed up that?
UK did.
Wait a minute. We got 1 minute. Wait a minute. I'll say it then, because you must be behind. So studio audience, we about to end, and we thank you for coming and watching us on Warriors United for Christ. So that means we're going to say to you right now,
You're
welcome.
welcome. I don't know what that is. Goodbye, guys.